day was January 6, 1906. I had just accomplished what was perhaps my greatest jailbreak of all time. The 64th of my career.
Ladies and gentlemen, Harry Houdini, the handcuffed king and premier jailbreaker in the whole of America, has just presented himself fully clothed on the front steps of the dreaded 10th Precinct Prison here in Washington, D.C., where not 20 minutes ago he was stripped naked and locked in cell number 2 of the notorious Murderer's Row, a place from which it is impossible to escape. And yet, the incredible Houdini has done it again! January 6th, 1906, a day that will go down in history. Now, he is shaking hands and accepting congratulations from Warden Harris and Superintendent Sylvester. Both men graciously...
As I shook hands with the esteemed gentleman in charge, my eye was caught by two sober-looking men in dark suits and near-identical Homburgs, standing at the edge of the crowd of well-wishers. They were gazing at me as if they would speak, and indeed, as I turned to head for my carriage and driver, I found them at my side.
Gentlemen, may I assist you?
Truth be told, Mr. Houdini, we are hoping, in fact, that you can. My name is Agent Davis, and this is Agent Grigsby.
We're with the U.S. Secret Service. We have a situation of some urgency that we would appreciate being able to discuss with you.
An issue that may have national security implications.
Of course, whatever I can do.
But not here. We understand that you're staying at the Excelsior. Would you allow us to send a car around tomorrow to pick you up?
This was most unusual, but I found myself intrigued.
Certainly, but it will have to be early. I'm booked on the noon train back to New York.
Understood. 8 a.m.?
I'll be waiting.
Whenever my wife Bess was unable to accompany me on my travels, I made it my habit to speak to her by telephone each evening.
Mr. Houdini, your call is going through now.
Thank you. Hello? Hello? Hello, Bess?
Harry, how did you fare?
Oh, it was a spectacular success, my love. I believe it is the finest prison escape I have ever accomplished.
While I knew Bess would be concerned, I felt compelled to mention the details of my meeting with the two agents.
You're right. It does make me nervous. Do be wary, darling.
I will. Of course.
I'll see you at supper tomorrow. Spring lamb, new potatoes, and fresh mint jelly to celebrate your success.
As promised, the government car picked me up at 8 a.m. sharp. One of the new model Packards, notable for its enclosed back seat which gave the passenger near complete privacy. It dropped me off in front of a nondescript-looking federal building. Agents Davis and Grigsby were waiting outside.
Gentlemen.
Mr. Houdini, one moment.
The two agents briefly engaged the car's driver in an intense exchange.
Are we in the clear?
You sure?
Before turning back to me as the car pulled away. They saw my questioning look.
We had to make sure your car wasn't followed.
We did mention that what we want to discuss is a matter of considerable national security.
Yes, you did.
The driver is also an agent. He assured us you weren't being tailed. This way, please.
We went down several floors to what appeared to be a sub-basement level.
Please, sir. After you.
Thank you.
The agents showed me into a windowless room outfitted with desks, chairs, and filing cabinets. At first glance, just an ordinary office. When Agent Davis closed and locked the door, however, it produced a sound-deadening effect, much like a vacuum seal, which I found fascinating.
Sealed and presumably soundproof. May I ask, what are the exact specifications of this room?
Very perceptive, Mr. Houdini.
Please. This room is fully underground. 3 stories down, as I'm sure you noticed, and encased in multiple layers of concrete, steel, and lead. It is built to resist all and any attempts at surveillance.
By radio frequency, telephony, recording devices, or any other means?
Any other means? Are you seriously speaking of the possibility of...
Supernatural effects. That is why we're asking for your assistance, Mr. Houdini.
Go on.
As you know, 5 years ago, President William McKinley was assassinated at an event in Buffalo, New York. The so-called details of that shooting are widely known. The general understanding is that the president was hit by 2 bullets, fired from a .32 caliber Ivor Johnson revolver, wielded by a man named Leon Czolgosz.
Yes, a true national tragedy.
Indeed. Made even more tragic by the misapprehension of fact clouding Mr. Czolgosz's mind.
We have reason to believe that Czolgosz did not act alone, that he was in fact merely a gullible patsy exploited because of his weakness for a naive anarchist ideology, that he was used possibly by secretive anti-democratic forces working against the interests of the government and the American people.
If I may ask, why you think I might be of some assistance?
These anti-government groups often hide in plain sight. They go by many guises, some of which appear to be fraudulent offshoots of spiritualism. They employ tricks, sleight of hand, and so-called magic on their victims.
The sort of thing you have made a name for yourself in exposing.
Yes, I see.
Leon Czolgosz was exposed to one such group, an organization called Scylla. Czolgosz was obsessed with the anarchist movement, and according to those who knew him, was actively searching for his mission in life. Some radical action that would serve the anarchist cause and gain him some kind of international fame.
He officially joined Scylla in early '01. He started attending their meetings, and this is a key element, their weekly seances.
What's the significance of that word, Scylla?
As far as we can discover, it's a Sanskrit word that roughly translates as the path to liberation.
A naive zealot in search of a mission.
Exactly. Apparently, at one of the seances, Czolgosz became convinced that he had been contacted by the spirit of Russian radical Mikhail Bakunin, the so-called father of anarchism, who he claimed instructed him to assassinate McKinley, the enemy of America's working people.
Utterly gullible. An ideal patsy.
Our assessment as well. We discovered that the activities of Scylla are very generously underwritten by one Mr. Lyford Dare, a benefactor of enormous wealth and privilege, someone right at the top of New York society, an untouchable.
If assassination and deflection were the plan, then Dare and, let's assume, any associates knew exactly what they were doing.
So it would seem.
But why McKinley?
We don't know, yet. Political differences usually boil down to competing financial interests, but so far we haven't uncovered a motive.
The actual facts of the shooting differ from the public's understanding. 3 elements of the case have encouraged us to contact you. First, McKinley should not have died from the injury caused by the first bullet. In fact, he had improved greatly the day before he died. Number 2, no second bullet was ever found.
The cause of death was listed as botulism, but what baffled the attending surgeon, aside from not being able to find the second bullet, was the location of the infection, which was nowhere near the original injury.
And a third element.
The third element is information we recently received from a certain Madame Valeria Koslova.
Madame Koslova makes her living as a spirit medium.
Ah. Was she involved in the seances attended by the assassin?
She was. We need to know if she's telling the truth about what happened.
Why would she lie?
That's the question. The only thing we know for sure is that she seems truly terrified of something. Mr. Houdini, if you would agree to meet with Madame Koslova, you would be doing us an enormous service. You will no doubt have insights that we simply don't have the experience to recognize.
I can do that. Where is she located?
New York. She works out of her townhouse on the Upper West Side.
Very well, gentlemen. When?
Immediately, if you can. And once you've met, we'll take the train up to debrief you, if you're willing.
Yes, of course.
The seriousness with which the two agents made their request convinced me to give the matter my full attention. I had no way of knowing that this fateful request would ultimately spark in me an unshakable commitment to debunking the harmful practices of spiritualists and their ilk. The fact that they might be implicated in a tragedy of such national proportions only served to strengthen my resolve.
That is extraordinary.
Yes, I thought so too.
Constance, more potatoes for Mr. Houdini, if you would.
Yes, ma'am. Extra parsley butter, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Constance.
Sir.
Did they give you any idea as to what this Madame Koslova has to say?
None. I was left to infer that it has some connection to the McKinley murder.
You will be careful, won't you? Things have been going so well for us again, and
I will. You have my promise. All right?
All right.
An excellent dinner, my love. And just what I needed. Thank you.
When the recording ended, I sat still. I felt as if someone had knocked all the wind out of my body. Yes, the implications of what I had just heard were stunning, but even more devastating was the fact that while it was playing, I seemed to be reliving, in absolute detail, another man's memories, another man's life. I was there. I had no explanation. None. The only thing I could think to do was to keep listening. I reached to load another cylinder, but then I realized that the sun was already up, and my first lecture was scheduled to start in 30 minutes.
It was a piece of antique sound equipment.
What was a piece of antique sound equipment?
So, you remember the last time he called me to the front?
Yeah? I mean, was it what you were scared of? I mean, did he turf you out? In which case, why are you here?
No. He asked if I could find him a working antique gramophone.
And did you?
Yeah.
Well, that explains it.
Explains what?
That brown streak, on your nose.
I'm too well bred to tell you what you are, but seriously? You bitch.
Hit that nerve the first time. You make my job so easy.
Fuck off. I'm gonna make sure it worked for him and take that look off your face. Professor Strasser? Professor Strasser? Professor Strasser.
Sorry, what? Oh, yeah. Hey, Josh.
So, how did it go? Did it work?
Did it work?
The gramophone.
Oh, yeah, it worked.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks for your help. Well, we're just about to get started here.
Right. Okay, well, see you later. was weird.
What? Prof not showing enough grats for the big favor?
No, that's not it.
Okay, everyone. Arguments at the ready. The mini boom in 83, 84. Who takes the credit? Was it Reagan or was it actually the Fed? Who wants to go first? I'm not usually one to phone in my classes, but there was no way I could bring myself around. All I wanted was to get back to the house and keep remembering.
You've been listening to Hindsight, The Day Before, an MHP original audio drama produced by Mark Haynes Productions and Radio Pictures. Written and directed by Kelly Lyons. This premium audio drama is based on Hindsight, an original television series created by Mark Haynes, now in development at MHP. Hindsight, The Day Before, stars Santiago Cabrera as Gabe Strasser, Harry Houdini, Sabangale Malambo as Bess Houdini, MC Gainey as Agent Grigsby, Nolan Gerard Funk as Agent Davis, Marin Dungy as Nomi Bernard, Sarah Botsford as Mrs. Elizabeth Ivory, Aaron Stanford as Josh Peters, Joe DiNicole as Justin Devereaux, Eileen Gruba as Madame Valeria Koslova, D. Taylor Loeb as Jackie Chen, Melinda Peterson as Carolina Boswick, Phil Proctor as William Howe, with Ian Anthony Dale as Lyford Dare and John Goodman as Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. Additional performances by Zach Garrett, Benny Felix, Julia Berglund. Executive produced by Mark Haynes. Series producer Kelly Lyons. Produced by Mark Haynes, Kelly Lyons, and Ted Bonnet. Original score composed by Greg Martin. Editing, technical direction, and sound design by Ted Bonnet. Post-production supervision by Ted Bonnet and Kelly Lyons. Re-recording mixer and Atmos audio production designer, Andy Snavely. Casting director, Russell Boast. Casting consultant, D. Taylor Loeb. Script supervisors, Julia Hirsch and Marilyn Miller. Assistant director and unit production manager, Camila Contreras. Production coordinator, Patty Lynn Poncho. Audio production consultant, Brent Kaiser. Sound recordist, Jay Kim. Boom operators, Chris Sin and Shelley Wen. Production assistants, Emily Koskett, Yolanda Jeremia, Cheyenne Sandifer, Julia Berglund, Anya Johnson, Veronica Romero, and Eric Berglund. BTS videographers Ephraim Zapata and Andrew Pimentel. COVID-19 compliance officers, Ryan Wally and Annalie Richards. The producers would like to give special thanks to Brian Ackerman, Anita Ackerman, and Ida Hallinan. Hindsight, The Day Before, is an MHP original premium audio drama produced by Mark Haynes Productions, markhaynesproductions.com, and Radio Pictures, radiopictures.com.